So the NBA free agency is pretty much over, as most of the major moves, and pretty much all of them I think, are out of the way. Barring like a crazy John Wall or Russell Westbrook trade, we pretty much know how each team's 2021 roster is going to look like. So like my NBA draft video, I'm going to be grading every team's full 2020 offseason. So this will take into consideration the draft, who they signed, who the team traded for, who they traded away, who they let walk in free agency. And I'm not saying that if I give a team a low grade that they had a complete awful offseason and they're going to be going nowhere in the future. It's just, I find some criticism to the moves they made, and I don't know if I fully agree with it at this current time. Obviously, hindsight will be 2020, but I'm just questioning what I saw from this past couple of weeks. So drop a like if you guys do enjoy these type of videos, and let's get into it. So to start off, we are going to have the Boston Celtics, who really didn't have a crazy offseason. They made some minor moves that I think are going to help them just get a little bit better next year. I think they definitely got, I don't know, obviously losing Gordon Hayward hurt, and I'm going to give them a B grade, which is actually not too bad for losing one of the better players on the team in Gordon Hayward. But in the draft, I liked who they picked up at 14, Aaron Nesmith, who will provide them some good shooting off the bench. I wasn't a huge fan of Peyton Pritchard at 26. I thought there were a lot better other point guard options on the board. And Yam Mater at 47 really won't do much for them in these next couple of years, in my opinion. Now in free agency, I really like the pickup of Tristan Thompson. I think that's a sneaky good pickup. Now, their grade would be a lot higher, even if Gordon Hayward walked, but if they were able to do a sign and trade with possibly Indiana to get like a Miles Turner or something like that. They also picked up Jeff Teague as well from the Awana Hawks, who I think is an upgrade over Brad Wanamaker. That's why I'm giving them a B. Moving on to the Brooklyn Nets, I'm going to give them a B as well. They started off the offseason trading for Bruce Brown, and I actually love that trade. They gave up Dezen and Musa and a second-round pick. I think Brown will help out that bench a lot. They made one draft selection at 57. They took Reggie Perry, and I kind of like Reggie Perry. I thought he was a top 45 guy in the draft, and they got him at 57. He basically just provides them some big man depth for this upcoming year, barring maybe an injury to Jared Allen or DeAndre Jordan. They picked up Jeff Green from the Rockets, kind of like that, but mainly they traded away pick 19 in the draft to pick up Landry Shamet of the Clippers. Now, I would have preferred them if they were able to just trade 19 for Luke Kennard. I think I'd rather have Luke Kennard than Landry Shamet, but I do like Shamet, especially in his role. That'll be kind of like that guy that's going to come off the screens. Mainly, you want him to knock down some threes off the bench, and he'll be a nice player next to KD and Kyrie Irving. So I'm giving them a B. Now we're going to stick in New York. The New York Knicks, they're getting a B+ from me. Even though they didn't make any huge splashes, they still had a pretty impactful offseason. At 8, they took Obi Toppin, and I like that pick for them. I just don't know how it's going to be with Julius Randle already there. Their grade might have went up a little bit if they were able to move Julius Randle. And at pick 25, they took Emmanuel Quickly. We don't really know if he's going to be a 1 or a 2 in the NBA yet, but they drafted 2 guys with some high upside and should help them right away. Now, they were able to trade for Ed Davis from the Jazz and got second-round picks in return, and were able to trade Ed Davis to the Minnesota Timberwolves for second-round picks in return, or a second-round pick, and also Amari Spellman and Jacob Evans, which is, I think, a great job. You're basically taking on cap and getting picks rewarded for that. You know, I love to see that. They had 3 pretty standard free agency signings. They got Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel on 1-year deals. I like Nerlens Noel as a backup center to Mitchell Robinson. He better not be starting. And Alec Burks as a good wing scorer off the bench. And then they also inked Austin Rivers to a great 3-year contract. 3 years worth $10 million, where the last 2 years are partially to non-guaranteed, which I think is great value for Austin Rivers. And I'm glad they let go of Bobby Portis, Wayne Ellington, Taj Gibson, and are going to let the young guys get most of the minutes next year. Their grade would have been a little bit higher as well if they didn't really get rid of Damian Dotson and Kenny Wooden, and also if they were able to trade away Julius Randle, but I think a B+ is pretty solid for the next year. Going over to the Philadelphia 76ers, they're getting an A- from me. I think the Sixers had one of the best off seasons in the Eastern Conference. So they took Tyrese Maxey at 21, and a lot of people thought that he could go in the lottery, so good job there. They also landed with 2 players that I had close to first-round grades on. At 49, they took Isaiah Joe like that, and Paul Reed at 58. Love that pick. They were able to trade Al Horford and get off his contract and his bad fit next to Joel Embiid, and it only cost them 1 first-round pick to do so. And they also got in return somebody that will be an impact player for them in Danny Green. So I love that trade. They picked up Dwight Howard and Ryan Broekhoff in free agency. They did lose GR3 at the moment and Alec Burks to the Knicks, but I think the Sixers had a great offseason. And the final Atlantic Division team, we are giving the Toronto Raptors a B+. They took Malachi Flynn at 29. I love that pick. Somebody I think the Celtics really should have took at 26 instead of Peyton Pritchard. And they got Jalen Harris at 59, which I think actually could be a high upside pick there. They picked up DeAndre Brembry, Alex Len, they re-signed Chris Boucher, and they brought in Aaron Baines in free agency. They were also able to re-sign Fred VanVleet, which is huge, to a 4-year extension. Big fan of that. And they lost their 2 veteran frontcourt members in free agency to LA teams in the Clippers and the Lakers for Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. So they would be a little bit higher if they were able to maybe retain Serge Ibaka. But I think getting Malachi Flynn, re-signing Fred VanVleet was huge, and Aaron Baines picking him up from Phoenix are nice additions / retains, and I'm giving them a B+. Alright, so the Chicago Bulls are going to get the lowest grade for me so far. I'm giving them a C+. They really didn't do much in this offseason. They didn't make any trades. They lost Chris Dunn to the Atlanta Hawks. They signed Garrett Temple from the Nets. Cool. Their main thing was that they took Patrick Williams at pick 4, which a lot of people thought was a reach, and I do like Patrick Williams a lot. And hey, if he's good, who cares if it was a reach or not? They got Marko Simonovic at pick 44, and they picked up Devin Dotson in the undrafted free agency pool. And I actually like Devin Dotson a lot. I thought he should have gotten drafted. I'm giving them a C+. They didn't really make any major moves, and I don't really think they got all that better. I do like the Billy Donovan pickup, though, and that's probably what's saving them from maybe being a C or a C-. Moving over to Ohio here, we are going to have the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm going to give them a C+ as well. In the draft, they took Isaac Okoro at pick 5. That was their only draft selection. I don't mind the pick, and I actually think he will help them a lot, especially on the defensive end. It provides them definitely their best wing on the roster, because I don't know what's going on with the Kevin Porter Jr. situation. And I think they'll help them win right now. Now, they picked up JaVale McGee in a trade. They re-signed Matthew Dellavedova, and they signed Damian Dotson from the Knicks, which I actually really like that pickup. But like the Bulls, they didn't really make any drastic changes. They took who they wanted with their top 10 selection. They're getting a C+ from me. All right, so moving over to the Detroit Pistons. They're tough, man. I'm going to give them a C-. They had 4 draft selections on the 18th of November, and I loved really 3 of them. Killian Hayes at pick 7, absolutely love that pick. You guys know that he was in my top 5 on my big board, so I think that's great value at pick 7. But Isaiah Stewart at 16, I really hate that pick. A center who's undersized and can't shoot. And okay, if they needed like a big man on the roster, go for it. But they went out, they drafted Isaiah Stewart at 16, and then picked up 3 other bigs in free agency in Mason Plumlee, Jahlil Okafor, and Jeremy Grant. They also traded for Dwayne Dedmon. They had Blake Griffin and Sekou Doumbouya on the roster. They let Christian Wood walk. Not a fan of some of those moves. I really like Saddiq Bey at 19. I think I would have taken him at 16. And I like Saban Lee at 38. They also picked up DeLon Wright in a trade, Rodney McGruder, Dejan Musa. They also signed Josh Jackson as well. They're going to be an interesting team going forward. They have a lot of guys that are going to be fighting for minutes. I don't even know where Jimmy Grant's going to start at. Is he going to be the small forward? Because he's going to start because they just paid him $20 million a year. They'll also have Blake Griffin coming back. I don't know who's going to start at center. Is it going to be Stewart? It's probably going to be Mason Plumlee. I would like to see them trade Derrick Rose for another asset going forward. I love the Killian Hayes pick. They traded away one of their best players in Luke Kennard from the previous year. So it's a big hit or miss year for the Detroit Pistons. The Indiana Pacers are going to actually get a C- from me. Now, they didn't really do a lot in free agency. They didn't have their first round pick from the Malcolm Brogdon sign and trade from last year's offseason. They took Cassius Stanley at 54. They brought in Jalen LeCue. They brought back Jakar Sampson. I just really wasn't a fan of this Pacers offseason. You got swept in round 1 by the Miami Heat, and you really didn't do anything to get better. Now, this is not a Pacers team that can really compete for a championship. There's 5-6 better Eastern Conference teams right now, and they really just played it safe. And I guess that's cool. They're gonna win 40 to 45 games in the shortened season. I'm sure they're gonna make the playoffs, but are they really gonna win a playoff series? Can they win 2? Most likely not. They played it conservative, and yeah, they're getting a C- from me. And the final Central Division team, the Milwaukee Bucks, they're getting an A- from me. They had a very active start to the offseason where they traded a lot for Drew Holiday, Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, 2 pick swaps, and 3 first-round picks. It's a lot, but they got a player that can help them win that championship and achieve that goal and hopefully make Giannis stay in Milwaukee. But I love this from the Bucks, especially if you're John Horst, the general manager. Now, if Giannis leaves, you're probably never going to be competing for a championship anytime soon after that. So, hey, if they're going to be bad after Giannis leaves, he's probably going to be out of a job. Why not go all in to try to win a championship? And if you do in Milwaukee, nothing else matters. They also had a trade for Bogdan Bogdanovic, but the tampering implications really messed that up. They got Sam Merrill in the draft, Jordan Norwa, Rajon Tucker, an undrafted Exhibit 10 player. I also like their role player pickups in free agency. DJ Augustine, Nick Stauskas, Bobby Portis, Jalen Adams. I think this was a great offseason from the Milwaukee Bucks. The Atlanta Hawks are getting the highest grade that I've given out so far. I'm giving them an A. They drafted Onyeka Okongwu at pick 6. They got Skylar Mays at pick 50. They had a huge free agency where they picked up Danilo Gallinari, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Chris Dunn, Rajon Rondo, and Solomon Hill. I think this team might be in prime position to get the 8th seed next year, which is going to be huge for their young guys' development in Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish. It was questionable getting Danilo Gallinari and Onyeka Okongwu because they're two bigs and already a crowded front court as it is with Clint Capella and John Collins, but I think the Okongwu and Gallinari acquisitions are looking past 2021 when John Collins will be a restricted free agent, and I don't think they're going to bring him back, but I love going all in to try to make the playoffs next year. It will help Trae Young's development. I'm giving them an A. I'm giving the Charlotte Hornets a B+, and you might be like, Matt, like, I don't know how you feel about that. They definitely overpaid for Gordon Hayward. I don't care. They got better. It's Charlotte. They're a team that's not going to be a huge free agency destination unless LaMelo Ball completely transforms that franchise and their public perception. But I love getting LaMelo at 3. He was my #1 player in the draft. I don't really agree with the Vernon Carey and Nick Richards draft picks in the second round. Two centers that are really one-dimensional and can't shoot. I love getting Grant Riller at 56. Huge fan of that. They got Nate Darling as an undrafted two-way deal. They brought back Bismack Biyombo. They waived Nicholas Batum. But yeah, the big acquisition for Charlotte was getting Gordon Hayward. They got better. They're going to be competing for the 8th spot next year with a bunch of other teams. I love it. I'm giving them a B+. I'm also going to be giving the Miami Heat a B+ as well. I really like getting Precious Achiuwa at pick 20. I think he's going to fit that culture. I like getting defensive wings in free agency in Avery Bradley and Mo Harkless. They did lose 2 major rotational guys in Jay Crowder to the Suns and Derrick Jones Jr. to the Blazers. They also re-signed Bam Adebayo. I was a fan of the Miami Heat's offseason. Now they are the reigning Eastern Conference champions. We'll see if they can maybe go back in the 2021 finals. And I do think they got slightly better in this offseason. I'm giving the Orlando Magic a B. They didn't really make a lot of moves, but I think they got better. They picked up Dwayne Bacon. Okay, cool. And really, they replaced DJ Augustine with Cole Anthony, which I think is a massive upgrade. They did lose Wes Iwundu. I don't know why they let him go, but yeah, he went to the Dallas Mavericks. But I do think they got slightly better, so they're getting a B from me. And the final Southeast Division team is the Washington Wizards. I'm giving them a B as well. I think getting Denny Avdia at pick 9 is great value. I really like Cassius Winston at pick 53 in the second round. They picked up Anthony Gill, Robin Lopez, and Raul Neto in free agency. They also re-signed Davis Bertans, and they didn't make any crazy moves like trading away John Wall or Bradley Beal. I think they're going to be a pretty exciting team to watch in 2021, and like the Hawks and the Hornets and the Magic, a lot of these Southeast Division teams are going to be competing for that 8th spot or 7th spot in the Eastern Conference. Now let's go over to the Western Conference. We'll start off with the Northeast Division. I'm giving the Denver Nuggets a B-. I would have really liked to see them go after like a Drew Holiday or a Victor Oladipo in the trade market. They picked up 2 first-round picks. They had Zeke Naji out of Zona at pick 22 and RJ Hampton that they traded a future protected pick for at 24. They also picked up JaMychal Green in free agency. They brought back Paul Millsap, but they lost Torrey Craig, Jeremy Grant, and Mason Plumlee. So I do think they got slightly worse in this offseason, but I do like taking a chance on RJ Hampton. I think he has high boomer bust potential, but I like the risk. I'm giving them a B-. The Minnesota Timberwolves are getting an A- from me. I absolutely loved what they did on draft night. They picked up Anthony Edwards at 1, Leandro Balmaro at 23, and Jaden McDaniels at 28, while also acquiring Ricky Rubio in a trade. They brought back Malik Beasley and Juancho Hernan-Gomez, and I think they definitely got better. Now, I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs next year, but they're taking a step in the right direction to provide a good team around Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell. So I liked what Gerson Rosas did this offseason, and I'm giving them an A-. The OKC Thunder are actually getting the best grade from me. I'm giving them an A+. I'm a big fan of their rebuild so far. They're actually rebuilding in the right way, getting picks, younger players, and just going to be a developing team next year and going forward. They picked up Alexej Pokusevski in the draft at pick 17, Theo Maledon at 34, and Vic Krejci at 37. They did a lot in the trade sector as they picked up Al Horford, Ty Jerome, Jalen LeCue, Vincent Poirier, Trevor Ariza, Justin Jackson, George Hill, Darius Miller, and TJ Leaf. They also got Kelly Oubre, but we know that they flipped him to the Golden State Warriors. They did lose Danilo Gallinari in free agency. They traded away Chris Paul and Steven Adams. They're going to be bad next year, but they also picked up 2 pick swaps from the Bucks, 2 more unprotected first-round picks, a protected Philly pick, but a lightly protected pick. They also got a first-round pick in return for Steven Adams to the Pelicans. I think they had a fantastic offseason. They're going to be developing and building around their young guys in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Darius Bazley, Pokusevski, Lou Dort, Good job, Sam Presti and the Thunder. The Portland Trailblazers are getting an A from me. They definitely got way better in this offseason. I love the Robert Covington acquisition, because if you were going to take the best wing available at 16, Saddiq Bey, yeah, I'd rather have Rocco than Saddiq Bey for this team's current direction. They had one pick in the second round. They took CJ Ellaby at 46. They also did a trade for Enes Kanter. They signed Derrick Jones Jr. I think this team got better, and I think they'll be fighting for like the 4th to 6th spots in the Western Conference next year. And the Utah Jazz, man, I did not like this offseason from them. I'm giving them a C-. Udoka Azubuike is cool at 27, but is it really a need to get a backup center who can't shoot in the first round? No. I like the Elijah Hughes pick at pick 39. I also love them bringing back Derek Favors. I think that's a massive pickup, but since you brought back Derek Favors, why'd you draft Udoka Azubuike? You could use a backup point guard that's better than Emmanuel Mudiay. They could use another wing that could score with Jaden McDaniels on the board, or hey, just go after Tyrell Terry, a great shooting point guard. They did re-sign Donovan Mitchell, which is cool. I wasn't a huge fan of the Jazz's offseason. The Golden State Warriors are getting a B+ for me, and damn, would I love to see them still trade for Kelly Oubre, but if Clay was healthy, man. It's not their fault that Clay got hurt. It just really sucks. That really hurt their championship contending goals next year. I still think there's a way that this team could win the finals. Now, they took James Wiseman at pick 2, the right pick there. They got Nico Mannion and Justinian Jessup in the second round. I especially like the Nico Mannion value at 48. They traded for Kelly Oubre. They picked up Brad Wanamaker and Kent Bazemore. This team definitely got better from their 2020 team. We'll just see what they could do with a pretty new roster. The Clippers are getting a B+ for me now. They didn't have their first round pick as they traded it for Marcus Morris in the middle of last year's season, but I like their 2 second round picks. I really like Daniel Ottorio at pick 33, and they got Jay Scrubb at pick 55. They traded for Luke Kennard, or basically Landry Shamet for Luke Kennard, which I think is an upgrade. They did lose Montrezl Harrell in free agency, but they possibly signed somebody better than him in Serge Ibaka, so I think they did get slightly better in this offseason. And I know you might call them frauds, but they're going to be right in the contention to winning the Western Conference next year, if you like it or not. But then the other LA team, the reigning NBA champion LA Lakers, had arguably the best offseason in the Western Conference. They're getting an A. They picked up Montrezl Harrell in free agency, Wesley Matthews, Marc Gasol. They brought back Markieff Morris and KCP. They traded for Dennis Schroeder, Jordan Bell, and Alfonso McKinney. Losing Dwight Howard, Rondo, and Danny Green will hurt, but I think this team did get better, and they're going to be right in contention to repeat next year in 2021. I'm giving the Suns a B. Now, I really like the Chris Paul trade. It hurts that you had to give up Kelly Oubre. Good scoring wing. Those are very useful in the NBA, but I think Chris Paul will make them a better team than having Kelly Oubre and Ricky Rubio. I really like the 2 free agency pickups in Etuan Moore and Jay Crowder. Moore can provide you shooting off the bench. Crowder can provide you some defense. I also like them going out and re-signing Dario Saric. Now, at pick 10, it's a weird selection. If Jalen Smith is going to be a backup center and basically replace Aaron Baines, then I don't like that pick whatsoever. But if they view him as a long-term fit at the power forward position next to DeAndre Ayton, then I could get behind it. And then the last Pacific Division team we're going to be talking about is the Sacramento Kings. I'm giving them a C+. Now, I think they absolutely killed the draft. I loved all 3 of their selections. Tyrese Halliburton at pick 12 is the biggest steal. They got Robert Woodyard at pick 40 and Jamius Ramsey at pick 43. Love those 2 second-round picks. But everything else they did in the offseason is kind of head-scratching. Yeah, they signed Hassan Whiteside, cool and all, but they let Harry Giles go. They let Bogdan Bogdanovic go without getting anything in return. They let Kent Bazemore walk as well, Alex Len. Now, I know I said they killed the draft, but like, this Kings team was kind of the step behind all the other teams competing for the 8th spot, like the Memphis Grizzlies, the Phoenix Suns, and the Portland Trailblazers. And did they really get better? I don't think so. They didn't make a move on Buddy Hield. I thought that they were going to trade him in the offseason. Like, you can ace the draft and all, but like, are you really going to get that much better next year and actually make the playoffs or make a fight for it? And I know the play-in will help, but I just rather have or just take Portland, Phoenix, Memphis, New Orleans over them next year. So I just don't really think they're going to make the playoffs. And yeah, they're getting a C+ from me. The Dallas Mavericks are getting a B+. Now, they still will have a max slot open in 2021, which will be huge to see if they'll add somebody next to Luka. So I'm glad they didn't make any decisions like committing to Danilo Gallinari long term. I really love their draft. I think they had one of the best drafts, getting Josh Green at 18, Tyrell Terry at 31, and Tyler Bay at 36. I love all 3 of those players. They did a great trade to get Josh Richardson, who will help them get better on the defensive end. They brought in James Johnson. They also brought in Wes Iwundu. I really like this offseason from the Mavericks. I'm giving the Houston Rockets a B-. They traded away their 3rd best player to the Blazers in Robert Covington. They added Kenyon Martin Jr. at pick 52 in the draft. That was their lone selection. collection. I love them getting Christian Wood, but I would have really liked to see them get Christian Wood by also still keeping Robert Covington. They also brought in DeMarcus Cousins, which I love the move on that. It's a low risk, high reward signing. I do think they got worse in this offseason, which is unfortunate, but not by a good margin, like just slightly worse. But I mean, they lost in 5 to the Lakers last year. I really can't see this team beating the Lakers or the Clippers or even some other teams in the Western Conference. As of now, it's looking like they're not going to trade Harden or Westbrook, but it might be a interesting season in Houston next year. The Memphis Grizzlies are getting an A- for me. Now, they didn't do a lot in this offseason, but I think they did everything right. I love them getting Desmond Bane at 30. I think he should have got a little bit higher than that. Love Xavier Tillman at 35. And they picked up Killian Tilly as an undrafted two-way deal rookie. I'm a huge fan of that. I thought Tilly definitely should have gotten drafted. They also got Jaleel Tripp, who is an undrafted Exhibit 10 player. They picked up Mario Hezonja in a trade. They brought back Jonte Porter and John Conchar. And I think they're going to be right there again competing for that 8 spot next year. Job well done, Zach Cleveland in Memphis. The Pelicans are getting a B+ from me. Now, they did trade away arguably their best player, Drew Holiday, but they really didn't get much worse as they brought in veterans like Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe, which I think are going to help them still compete for a playoff spot next year. They took Kyra Lewis at 13. And now, after acquiring Eric Bledsoe, that is a questionable pick because you have Kyra Lewis, Eric Bledsoe, and Lonzo Ball on the roster as 3 primarily ball handlers. So I don't know how that's going to work out. Are they going to trade Lonzo Ball? Do they think that they're going to just move Bledsoe in the offseason? They re-signed Brandon Ingram. They brought in Billy Hernan-Gomez, Darius Thornwell, and Wenyen Gabriel. I do think you could look at this team and see, okay, they definitely got a little bit worse losing Derek Favors, Drew Holiday, but I don't think it's by that much, and I still think they'll compete for a playoff spot next year. I'm just intrigued to see what they're going to do at the point guard position going forward. And finally, I'm giving the San Antonio Spurs a B-. I love Devin Vassell at 11. I think that's great value. I love Trey Jones at 41. I thought he should have went in the first round. They lost Bryn Forbes and Marco Bellinelli, but it's just like I would have liked to see them make an effort to try to move DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge and really fully commit to that rebuild. But yeah, those are going to be my 2020 offseason grades for every NBA team. Let me know what you agree with or disagree with on what I said in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, please drop a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And like always, thank you all for watching. I love you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.